Cool. Well, Jonathan Wiseman here. This is another episode of The Grit. Today, I have Justin with me. I'm going to let him pronounce his last name because I can't pronounce it. But he is with Clutch City Connect. He's going to tell us a little bit about his business. Before we get started, if you watch this podcast regularly, we launch them every Monday, so tune in every Monday. If you get value from this, leave a review, leave a comment, share it, help us get the exposure out there. And that's going to be the best accolades that we can get from you. So we appreciate that. It helps the other business owners out that come on here to share their story. And anything that you can do to help us get exposure, we greatly appreciate it. Without further ado, Justin, tell me your last name, Justin. Sepulveda.
Yeah. Good luck, like I said. It will never get pronounced properly.
I'll let you do it. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for joining us today. And we're going to kind of dive right in. I want to learn about what Clutch City Connect is. Learn about how you got started, but let's take it to the very beginning. First, tell me, what is Clutch City Connect?
Yeah, so Clutch City Connect, it's right now, and I'll explain why I say right now in a second. But it is a Houston-themed apparel line, and basically what we'll do is we use a portion of the proceeds to go towards pretty much providing the basic living necessities for the less fortunate in the greater Houston area.
Okay, so it's a clothing line.
It is.
Okay, and part of that clothing line and part of what you do is contribute back to the community.
Correct.
And that's kind of how I found you and learned about you in the first place. Is I actually didn't even realize you were a clothing line. I just saw all the great things you were doing around town. So how did this start? Where'd you come up with the idea? Before we jump into the charity work that you do and give back, and thank you for that. It's absolutely amazing. Where did the clothing line idea originate? How did this concept come?
It's funny because as far as the clothing line and how that even became what it is, like you said, you don't even really see me more as like a clothing store. And actually a couple of years ago, me and my friends, we had actually designed some T-shirts, and we thought it'd be cool to just make our own shirts. We'd sell them, and it'd just be like a cool thing to do. 4 friends getting together. Yeah. And man, we had a bunch of cool ideas, and it was just something that really didn't go too far. We kind of just had different ideas and went our separate ways, but in my head, I always thought it'd be cool to kind of design my own shirts. And, I figured I'd design my own shirts versus going out to somewhere and buying a $45 shirt that I'm just like, it's okay. And I guess the idea behind it is, I'm from Houston. I love Houston. I represent the Rockets, all that stuff. Everyone likes to represent their city.
Absolutely.
So I always thought it'd be cool just to make my own shirts. And in my head, I always told myself, like, if I ever did this and made my own company, I'd call it Clutch City Connect. I grew up in that era with the Rockets winning the championship.
Yeah, me too.
All that stuff, man. So we're Clutch City. So it's just something that kind of embedded in my head. And, so as a company, it wasn't even supposed to be a company. I mean, as of next Tuesday, it'll be 6-month anniversary.
Real cool. Congratulations.
So as I started doing this, I'm not sure if you want me to get into the...
We'll get into all of it.
Yeah.
So when you first got started, the first shirt or the first concept, you said, I want to make a shirt or a clothing line out of this. And I've had clothing lines before, so I'm familiar with it. So I'm glad because I can get in there and ask the right questions.
Right.
But when you first started, did you, what was the idea? On to start with polos, T-shirts?
It was T-shirts, just because that was what I knew. So I figured, you know what, I'll start off with T-shirts.
And so when it started, was it an actual meant for-profit business model, or you were like, hey, I just want to get some T-shirts that say Clutch City on it and some cool shit for myself?
No, it was meant for-profit. It was
meant to be a business.
It was meant to be a business.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so when you first got started, what was that first idea of, okay, I need to come up with X amount of dollars so I can ... What was the ... Like, how did you envision starting this business? What did you do? What were your first steps? Like, okay, in my head, I know I want to make this a clothing line. What was the first step you took? What'd you do next?
Well, with that idea, first of all, I had to find my materials. I just kind of helped out with ideas with the previous company, so I had no idea what I was doing, man. I started, I would go to different print stores, I would get catalog books. I didn't know anything about what kind of material I needed, where to get it printed.
Sure.
I didn't know what screen print, DTG, I didn't know any of that
stuff.
stuff.
So you had to start doing R&D.
Literally start from scratch.
Yeah.
I knew nothing, and then I actually tried to ask certain people that kind of did that, and of course, a lot of them, they didn't want to give me what they knew, and they didn't want to tell me, so I kind of had to figure out on my own. So yeah, I got on Google.
Yeah, luckily these days there's Google.
There's Google.
You can learn anything on
best
Google.
friend. Google and YouTube.
That's what I tell my clients. It's like, look, what I'm doing, anybody can go on Google and search it nowadays and learn how to do it. It's just a matter of, do you want to do it or do you want me to do it for you?
So, yeah, I think with that, I think I started and actually would get on Google, and I would first off try to look at all the different print stores around the Houston area. I would look at like the best ratings, and I finally came across one that a lot of people talked about.
And when you say print store, do you mean silkscreen print shop?
No. Like screen print shops, like that they actually specialized in doing screen prints on T-shirts.
Yeah, screen print. So screen printing.
There you go.
No worries.
Vocabulary's not all there either.
No. I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Right.
Because there's print media and people printing flyers and all kinds of media print. So I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the same thing. So silkscreen printing is and then as you were saying, there's direct to print, which is the DTG or
exactly.
So direct to garment is actually what it stands for.
I had no idea what that even was.
Well, and that's something pretty new because when I was in the business 20 years ago, that wasn't available. It was either silkscreen and you said you don't know the vocabulary. Honestly, they might not use the word silk anymore. That's how old I am.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, so that's exactly. So there's the gap.
Right.
But screen printing, and all they had was silk screen printing and embroidery. Nowadays, they've got, and Hector's even familiar with a couple things that we're looking at doing for ourselves. But the DTG is like the new cool shit that's soft and
it's definitely more expensive. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Good Lord, I got price quotes on different things. I was like, oh, okay.
So how much money did you start with, and what was your first order?
My first order, actually, I think I ordered 100 shirts, and I wanted to make it a Houston themed line. I thought of Houston things, and a big thing that I grew up on was, like the rodeo, Astroworld, all that stuff. And around that time, that's actually when, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Travis Scott,
yep.
But there was the Astroworld kind of thing coming out. And I had actually had that in my head for probably a couple of years now. I had something in my notes, and I thought, you know what, that would be something cool to do something like Astroworld theme. So I went to this print shop, and he kind of helped me design something. I had something in my head, and I think what I had was a little bit out there. So he saw it. He's like, all right, we're going to simplify this a little bit because what you got, it's kind of crazy, kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, we came down with the design. On the back, it said, wish you were Houston instead of wish you were here.
Yeah.
There's a little Astroworld theme on it, Clutch City Connect. And I ordered 100 shirts. I want to say, man, if I had to guess,
$10 or $12 a piece.
I want to say it was a little under $1,200.
Okay.
So yeah, it's about $12 a piece. And keep in mind, I had no idea if these were going to sell. And the whole reason why I even did this was because I was already doing, my charity type of work for Clutch City Connect. So I really got into it for the sole purpose of funding what I was doing. So I hoped it would work, but I had no idea. So I went out on a limb, and I dished out a lot of money, and I was not.
So you got 100 shirts. How old were you when this was?
This was 6 months ago, so I was actually 28.
So just recently. 28.
Yeah, this is.
And so, what have you been doing work-wise, or for income, or to are you a student? You living at home? What does that look like before starting this 6 months ago? Because this is fresh business for you.
Very fresh.
So what have you been doing? Did you just get out of school or live?
Yeah, actually, I just got out of fire school. I start my EMT actually next Thursday, so hopefully become a firefighter at the end of the year.
Okay, real cool.
Love the schedule. No 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Something totally different. But actually, at the time before I started doing all this, dude, I was actually working 3 jobs. I was waiting tables. I was doing construction for homes that were hit by Harvey, and also personal training, which I still do some of that on the side. And I actually had a degree in process technology to be able to be a chemical operator in the chemical plants. And I was still trying to get a job at the moment, but certain things, something traumatic kind of happened, which completely altered my direction of what I wanted to do.
Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, I can. Actually, that's kind of how I am who I am today. It was actually December of 2017. My oldest brother, Carlos, he actually committed suicide.
Wow.
Yeah, so when that did happen, actually that very day, I was working 3 jobs. My whole goal was to get on with chemical plants. And it's funny because I got the degree just because I wanted to make a lot of money, which nothing wrong with making money.
Sure.
But I think my heart was in the wrong place. So the moment that happened, I'd be lying if I said I didn't hit rock bottom. Like it was terrible, rough time for me.
I can imagine.
And I remember one night sitting down, and I sat down. I was just thinking about everything, and I just kind of thought, like, it's so crazy how something can happen just like that and get taken from you, and just everything changes.
It changes your
Nothing's
life.
important. Like all the things you think are just like something you got to have or you need to do, it doesn't mean nothing.
So you're working these 3 jobs. You're trying to get this degree so you can go make a good income on payroll.
Yeah.
And then this happens.
So that happens, and I had to sit back and kind of reevaluate my life.
How did that hit you? How did that make you feel?
It was, I think for the first like week, I was very I was kind of in shock. Of course, with the nature of how it happened, you got all kinds of crazy regret. What if I did this, or what if I told him that, or whatever. But at the end of the day, you can't blame it on yourself. So, I kind of had to reevaluate everything, and I sat down. I asked myself, like, what do you want to do that's going to make you happy? And something I've always enjoyed is helping others. And, this goes a couple of years back. I mean, for probably 5 or 6 years, I would occasionally go out and feed the homeless. It was something I didn't really do all the time. It was maybe occasional Christmas or Thanksgiving, but I like doing it.
I get it.
It gives you value.
We do the same thing.
It's awesome.
So, absolutely.
So
I love it.
Once that happened, let's say 6 months passed, he passed. Actually, I joined the volunteer fire department as like a hobby, just to do something for fun, keep me occupied. And dude, I loved it. The action, everything involved in it. I loved every aspect about it. So I went to these meetings for about a month, and then that next month I decided to enroll in the fire academy. So as this is going on, I started more gradually feeding the homeless, and it would go from every holiday to now I'm doing it, let's say every 2 weeks I'd go out and feed them. So around Thanksgiving time.
How are you funding that?
It was actually, so before I had started these 3 jobs, I actually had an internship in the chemical plants where I was making decent money, and they let me go, or they didn't let me go, but basically it ended.
Yeah.
And I got a job. It was basically, I would pick samples for this company. It was a petroleum company. So with that and just waiting tables and working the 3 jobs, like I said, I didn't need to do it, but I did it just because I wanted a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I had a good amount saved, and I was still waiting tables up until actually 6 months ago. I quit the job. Okay. So I have actually been.
So once you went full time with the T-shirt line, you were still working some.
Yeah, I was still waiting tables at a Mexican restaurant. I was doing that full time while going to school. Actually, I only quit that just because I was getting ready to start my live fire training evolutions, and it was going to get too crazy. So I actually had to quit that. So I had money saved up, and my shirts that I actually purchased were from my tax return. So that was my big thing. I got that tax return. I was like, this is meant to be. Let's do it.
All right, cool. Let's fast forward to where you decide to go ahead and put that tax return check into buying the $1,200 worth of shirts. You got 100 Clutch City shirts.
Yep.
Astroworld printed on the back of them.
Yep. And it was actually 50 of those and 50 of another kind.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we launched 6 months ago.
Uh-huh.
So let's get into the nitty gritty and find out what's gone on over the last 6 months and where we're moving forward. So you print these shirts, you get 100 of them, you're all tied up. You got your whole check into them. You don't know what's going to happen with it. How long after you received the shirts did you sell your first shirt?
24 hours. They're all sold out. 24 hours.
All of them were sold out in 24 hours.
24 hours. I was extremely shocked. I could not believe it.
That's crazy.
It's crazy because March 3rd is when I officially launched my website. It wasn't even a website. It was Instagram and Facebook. I'd officially kind of launched what I was doing. And, I would kind of I'd have pictures of me going to the shelters and me, helping out and whatever. So 3 weeks after that, I announced that I was officially selling these T-shirts, and proceeds would go towards funding what I'm doing. And I was getting paid through Cash App and PayPal and other stuff like that. Yeah. No website.
Well, everything's all digital now.
Exactly.
Why not?
So I think within the first hour, I had over 30 orders.
Wow.
And, of course, a lot of them are friends and, classes. Yeah. But
they're supporting you, but it's still.
It's support.
Business is business.
So I'm on this crazy high. I'm like, dude, it's time. I got to order more. Let's get it. Let's go. And, man, I spent that whole week, keep in mind, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know about shipping or any of this stuff. So literally for a week, and my girlfriend thought I was crazy, I am literally spending 12 to 16 hours a day driving. I live in Webster, so I'm driving all over Houston. I'm going to Katy. I'm just dropping off shirts. I want to be that professional person. You order your shirt, you're going to have it today. Yeah. So that's what I was doing. And yeah, man, 24 hours and those shirts were sold out.
That's awesome. How much did you sell them for?
$20 a piece.
Okay, cool.
So
$800 profit.
Yeah.
First lick.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. You probably burnt all that in gas driving all over Houston.
Yeah.
But
It was,
as we all do as business owners, we learn.
yeah, we definitely learned, man. Yeah, actually, I think midway into that, I told one of my buddies, I was like, dude, there's no way that I can keep doing this. Like, I need to have a pickup thing or some kind of something. So that's where I started charging for shipping.
Yeah, and then that's when you start to learn about fulfillment. You know, it's hard to, when you first get into business, you don't know that you need it. And then you find out real quick, and then it eats into your profit. So then, of course, like you said, you got to charge for shipping.
But it wasn't easy after that, though. I'll say that.
Well, we'll get into that story. What percentage do you give back to the community?
You know, it didn't really I didn't have a percentage at the time, and I still don't, which is...
You just, no rules. You just want to be able to do what you enjoy doing and give it back.
Right now, when I started, I was actually connected with 5 different nonprofit organizations. So most of them tend to have like a list of certain necessities that they need throughout the month. So I would pretty much make it to where I would make sure I can provide for these 5 places. And then I would try to at least go out and feed the homeless 3 or 4 times a month. And so I still had money saved from my job. So I would actually use that money. And if I had to be honest, I would probably say I might not even profited from those first thing of shirts because I probably spent it all on what I was doing.
Yeah,
I didn't really care. It was whatever.
What does it feel like to be out there on the streets, to give them, to pass out food, to pass out clothes, to pass out necessities, the looks on their faces?
I love it. I mean, you'd be so surprised how you give someone a breakfast taco and you see them almost tear up because they're getting something to eat, or they don't have to go without a meal. Like dude, the feeling's crazy. That's kind of what drives me. It makes you really appreciate the little things in life.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that what you have so much more than what people have. And it's crazy because they're just like us. I mean, there's people, a lot of them are like that because they got wiped out by Harvey or, different situations. But just that feeling you get from someone.
I can see that I'm sure it's real humbling.
It's indescribable, man. I mean, the amount of hugs and, handshakes and just talks I've had from people just by feeding them. It's why I do what I do.
Yeah, very humbling.
Yeah.
So a week into it, you spend the first day, you sell out.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, all your profits are gone. You give them back to the community. Get that part. It takes you a week to pass them all out. What's round 2? What's phase 2? What do you do next to keep the business alive?
I ordered more shirts. And they did not sell as fast as I thought they would. The first round.
Okay, so the first round is mostly just the hype and your friends supporting
exactly
you.
Exactly what it is.
Okay, and then the second round.
I sold, we'll say in the first week, I maybe sold like half of that. And now I'm kind of freaking out. I'm like, all right, well, this is not going the way I wanted it to go, but we'll keep going, we'll keep moving. So they weren't really selling, and yeah, it got slow, man. I want to say I didn't even come out with another shirt design for maybe another month. It was actually I want to say about 3 weeks later, I came out with another shirt design until I finally sold them. But it was really hard.
Okay, so first batch went in a day or two because all the hype. And that's typically like any business. You have a grand opening, you hype it up.
All your main followers, they want to support you, your family.
Absolutely, especially with a great cause.
Yeah.
And so second round, it's not so pretty. You invest probably about the same amount of money, another 100 shirts, another $1,200, and you sell about 40 or 50 of them in the next week. And then it takes you about 3 or 4 weeks to liquidate all of them so that you can do the next round.
Keep in mind, I'm like dipping in because I had a good amount saved. So I'm dipping into my savings.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I'm gradually just dipping, and grabbing more money, looking at my bank account. I'm like,
what does that do to your mind? I mean, did you think that at what point, were you like, this isn't going to work, or maybe I made it wrong?
I got super discouraged. I got very discouraged, and it was hard because I started in March, and it might have been in April. At the end of that month was when we started live fire training, and we're having to do this for 6 weeks. And these 6 weeks, I mean, it's constant. I mean, we're going in, these evolutions, it's 1100 degrees in there. So, I mean, it's physically and mentally wearing you out. So I'm doing this and I'm trying to study for my state test while I'm trying to run this business. So
you're training for 6 months to be a firefighter?
Trained for a year, but the last 6 months was evolutions.
Okay.
But, it took a huge toll on me, and I did get discouraged. And, I think that high that I had pushed me. But once I started seeing that these shirts weren't selling, Yeah, I definitely
Took all the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself like, man, can I do this? Is this gonna work? And I'll be honest, I think around once it got to like mid-May towards June, I started really kind of thinking like, man, I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And yeah.
So we've all been there.
Yeah.
What was that defining moment where you made the decision to either, grab your nuts and run with it or to throw in the towel? Obviously, you didn't throw in the towel. So when did you get hit with that moment? And it was like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Well, once I realized the shirts weren't selling, I kind of just told myself I'd go to the basics to where I wouldn't have to spend a lot of money. And the cheapest route is feeding the homeless, because I would cook my own food. I'd cook tacos and, make my own stuff. So I was doing that. And it's funny because I actually had to go to the Dominican Republic for a wedding. It was my best friend's wedding. So we had planned it like 2 years in advance. So we went out there, and that's what it was. I was sitting on the beach in this other country, and I had told myself too, because as I'm going on this vacation, even on the plane ride there, I was just thinking about everything. I finished fire school, I got this awesome company, and I'm looking at social media and how everyone, I think me looking at these pictures and just seeing all the messages people say like, dude, it's so inspiring what you're doing. It's awesome. Yeah. I was evaluating that, and I kind of told myself that, dude, when you get back, you're going to buckle down. You're going to blow this company up. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to make it happen. And I'm sitting on the beach. I'm thinking, I'm like, look, man, this ain't going to be easy. I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk and that's my guy. A lot of people like that, inspirational people, and I'm big on inspirational videos. So I'm kind of hyping myself up. I'm like, look, man, are you going to just like lay over and just fail? Or are you going to do this? Like, come on, you have this opportunity to help all these people. Let's do it.
I take a lot of quotes from Gary Vee.
Oh, that's
regularly.
Dude, I listen to him almost every morning.
What's one of the main things that he said that sticks with you that you've learned from him?
I think the main thing is about age, because, I think growing up, you're kind of like, you hit 25, and you're like, man, I should have this job, I should have this house, or I should be doing so much more. And I think watching those testimonies where there's people like, getting ready to hit 30, and they're kind of asking like, hey, I'm really not happy. I'm not doing what you're doing. He's like, fine, quit, do this or do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just aspect of like that hustle, man.
Take risks.
To take risks. You got to do it.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that I've learned from him is patience.
Yeah.
Is none of this is overnight. And, not everybody, most people that are successful, it didn't come quick. Mm-mm. Not 2 months, 6 months, 6 years. It is something that you got to work for. You got to grind for.
Process.
And you keep grinding at it, and you outlast your competitors or the other dude trying to build the same company. Yep. You outgrind them, you're going to win.
Not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Absolutely.
That's another thing that I kind of...
That's one of the big things that I've learned from him. And a lot of the businesses that I've built, including the ones now, is I'm always doing it at a sprint pace.
Yeah.
And, I'm always I don't have anybody else to compare what I'm doing, because a lot of the stuff that we do with this podcast is kind of a more revolutionary type business model where there's nothing to compare it to see if I'm doing good or not. Yeah. And so it's kind of getting your own head, and it's just like, am I there yet?
And that's the hardest thing for me is I feel like I need to sprint, but I know I need to just sometimes just slow my pace and just...
Well, that and it did the same thing for me. So some of his shows that I've watched about patience is what helped keep me in line and just keep me focused and quit worrying about where to rate myself at and just focus on the business and keep grinding, keep making it happen. Yeah. And it sounds like that's a lot of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you got back from your trip, so you came back, you enjoyed it out there. You said, when I get back, I've got to do it. I've got to get back. And you just hit the ground running when you came back?
Yeah, I hit the ground running. Actually, when I got back, I was contacted. It was like a trifecta. I got contacted by Voyage Houston, and they kind of told me that they loved what I was doing and they wanted to hear about my story. So I want to say it was that very week I was kind of, I had to fill out these interview questions, explain what I was doing, and they posted it, and that was a big boost for me. Actually, whenever I posted that, the amount of followers and likes and shares that I got from that was something I've never experienced. So with that being said, I don't think I mentioned it, but I actually ordered a third round of shirts somewhere along the line, just because I knew I needed to have a stock, because I did create a website eventually. And I want to say within that week that I actually posted the Voyage Houston article, I want to say it was like 55 shirts were ordered within
Wow.
that week. And I wasn't even like posting about it or broadcasting like, hey, I got these shirts.
It was the exposure from
It was
Voyage.
the exposure. So
And what is, take a step back, what is Voyage?
Voyage, basically it's a magazine. Well, they're a magazine, but a lot of it is online now. A lot of it's on, you see it on Facebook. People have their links on it, but they pretty much kind of do what you're doing. They highlight entrepreneurs around the Houston area, all the mom and pop businesses, small businesses. They try to highlight them and give them exposure and kind of explain their story and how they came about. What they
is that a Houston publication?
You know what? I don't believe it is. I believe that it's kind of all over, but for this one, it's,
obviously,
Houston.
for Houston. Okay, real cool. So they do a little story on you. They give you a little boost, mention you on social media, and that gives you a little influx of business.
And that was what I needed. That was that push. That I was already kind of had this new mind state, but that happened. I'm like, all right.
That was the injection you needed.
Let's get it. That's exactly. And then that same week.
So this was what, probably 3 months ago? Recent?
July. So it was last month.
Okay, last month.
July. So as that's going on, I also got contacted by a radio host from Mega 101.
Okay.
It's a Hispanic radio station.
Yeah.
And he contacted me. It was literally that same week. And he's like, hey, man, I love what you're doing. I want to hear your story. And I did an interview with that. And so it was literally back to that.
Did he put you on the radio?
Put me on the radio.
So that got you exposure.
More exposure. And it was crazy. So it was literally back to back. And ever since then, I pretty much hit the ground running, and I've sold more shirts, and it's kind of to the point where I've hit a point to now I realize that there's just so much more that I can do. So I'm trying to like step it up now.
Really cool. Mm-hmm. So this is a quick journey. This is all leading up to about a week or two ago.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to have catch you in the infant stages of your business and building it. Definitely, I need to get my shirt and contribute to you on that.
Got you, man.
To give back for sure.
I actually just got this made.
I've been looking at it.
I literally just got it today just because, I'll go to all these places. I'm wearing T-shirts. I thought, you know what? I need something more professional. So I got me like a collar shirt. So I got embroidered. And, blue.
Is everybody asking for them now?
I literally picked it up. I wanted to pick it up for your podcast, and I picked it up maybe 2 hours ago. So I haven't even shown anyone. You're probably the first person to see it.
Well, that's what I love about this and love about the show is, this is raw.
Yeah.
This is as green as you can get. This is as raw as you can get. You're in the development stages. Mm-hmm. You're new. We have people that are brand new. You're probably the newest one in business on the show thus far.
Take it.
And I love it because it lets people see exactly what you're going through, how quick things unfold. Not even 3 months ago, before you go on your trip, you're about to throw in the towel. Mm-hmm. 3 months later, you're on radio stations, you're in publications, you're on podcasts, you're getting news coverage all over the city.
It's crazy.
And the shit's blowing up.
Yep.
And it's time to go to the next level. And now you're already trying to figure out, all right, what can I do next to continue my growth? I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, that's pretty much, I guess we're right at that end of that journey, the week of, and I can't wait to bring you back in 6 months from now.
It's be a lot different.
It is
different job, I'm telling you.
Well, and I'm glad that I just get to be a part of it in the infant stages of it and watch your growth.
Yeah.
What you're doing is amazing. Giving back. I've seen your videos online. I've seen you travel all around Houston, all the different homeless shelters and homeless people on the streets and tent cities and everything that you've done where you're out there hitting the ground, you're feeding people, you're changing lives, you're making Houston a better place. And I thank you for that. And I know the people of Houston thank you for that as well. Absolutely. Clutch City Connect. Appreciate you coming on the show, Jay. And I hope that you'll come back and see us in 6 months and give us an update.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity, buddy.
Absolutely, brother. Look forward to it. Appreciate y'all tuning in today. We've got Clutch City Connect with us. Justin, he's going to be out there making Houston a better place. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.